Welcome, everybody. My name is Elizabeth, and I'm here to introduce Murray Saul, an instructor here at the School of Computer Studies. He's presenting Recording with Linux, and what he really likes to see is a captive audience. Take it away, Murray.
What the heck is happening? Just 1 sec. Just 1 second. This is the great part about performing. Weird things happen, but you go with the flow, right? Okay, so as my boss would say, one more time with feeling. I like the topic. That was good. Thank you. Jerry Lewis. My name is Murray Saul, but I go through some alter ego names as well. Through my current band name is Madman Murray Saul. I think you get that one, okay? I am the band's secret weapon against hecklers. My old band name from university was Mur the Blur Saul. Everybody thought the blur was because I was very fast with my fingers. Truth be known, I was a really crappy hockey skater. And people would go by me, and I'd go into a flat spin and hit the ground. And that's really where if truth be known. Anyways, what I'd like to do today is talk to you guys a little bit about Linux and music recording. Not from the perspective that I know everything, but from my journey. And to try to help to put some stuff into perspective and why I like to use Linux for performing live and for doing some recording. You don't have to be an expert in this, and I have to give you some warnings. Number one, audio is a vortex, and to add on computing with that, that makes it a double vortex. So there's a lot of apps there, there's a lot of stuff, and to tell you the truth, I don't know everything. Number two, every once in a while you'll see me make reference to my notes, just because I don't want to miss anything, and it'll keep me on track here. So anyways, I want to get back on track here and stick to the stuff that's important, which is about myself. Okay, so I want to put things into a little bit of perspective here about when I was growing up and what led me into music, okay? So back around 1969, I was your normal kid, and the normal kid was probably playing war, doing, covert activities into backyards, taking over nations, yada, yada, yada. And that's actually a photograph from 1969.
And how old were you then?
Old, I should have known better. Old enough to know better. And my mom, God rest her soul, thought, Murray's older brothers, one is a jock, one is a nerd. I'd like to give him the opportunity for a little bit of culture, a little bit of arts. So in 1969, I was enrolled into the Royal Conservatory of Music. And the promise was, if I did well, we'd see. And I really tried hard to show you something that I actually do have at home. And that is, for the first little while, we had little keyboards that were cardboard. Now, this isn't the real one, go figure, this is too small. But it was collapsible, and we played with these for about 9 months. And I still kept with it, and I went through, and I did actually pick up some Royal Conservatory books and little staff lines with writing, which is way better than my writing is now. And lo and behold, my mom decided to buy a piano. And it was an apartment-sized piano. And I thought, wow, isn't this really cool? And the piano is still there in the basement of my dad's, Terribly out of tune. Scarily out of tune. But when I would come home after school or during lunch hour, I learned that it wasn't everything it should be cracked up to be, because there is piano practice. And after you eat, you'd have to practice, and you'd have to practice, and you'd have to practice. This piano has not moved since 1970. So I was here playing around. Sometimes I'd spook myself into thinking a ghost is behind me. My mom would be upstairs listening, saying, Murray's up to it again, because the tempo was going all shot to hell and everything like that. And I was playing, looking over my back at the same time. Anyways, I got out of Royal Conservatory music and took private lessons, and this was around the time of the 70s with the Sting, with Scott Joplin and ragtime, and sort of reinterested or rekindled my passion for playing. Till grade 8, when there were girls and other distractions, and I kind of stayed away from it. Until I reached university. Okay, this is December 1986. You can tell because it's like a real 80s tie. There I am, behind and playing probably our first gig. You'll notice there's no drummer, because that was, a drum machine was used. I think it was a Yamaha RX-7. Would you say to girls, I have a Yamaha RX-7? Oh, you have a car? No, not the car, the drum machine. Oh, see you later. Okay? And so I was, look at it, looks so serious there, because not only am I the keyboardist, I'm the drummer. And people would be yelling out, hey Paul, where's Ringo? Right? But they seemed to like us, and we had a lot of fun. We had the dartboard towards the singer, because let's face it, singers have their egos, and he'd be the first one hit. Anyways, the desire and the passion started on a journey, and it still continues, but it may explain why I'm a little bit passionate about music and why I'm really happy with Linux and why it's such a good fit for what I want to do. First of all, what would it take to do music recording? And again, I have to warn you that this has been an interesting journey. It's only from one perspective. To tell you the truth, there's not a lot you need to do to actually do some simple recording. I mean, you have on your notebook computer or your desktop input jack. You can buy, a microphone to go in and do some simple recording. And that's okay, but boy, oh boy, there are a lot of variables there that can make the recording sound really crappy. So you can do kind of a good job, but there's no guarantee you're going to do an amazing job. And to tell you the truth, if you ever talk to anybody who's in recording that really know their stuff, they say it's all about physics. Believe it or not, it doesn't mean that you have to be a physics nerd to produce really good music, but sound engineers really have to pay respect to physics. How to produce a sound perfectly at its peak. When you're recording live, to understand how one day people could be sitting in an auditorium, and the next day the temperature drops 20, 40 degrees, and the sound changes because everybody's coming in and wearing their coats. So there's a lot to it. And for myself, I went through this journey. I'll be honest, after I graduated from university, and the old expression is, at that time I think I had a little bit more money than brains, I started to invest heavily into hardware. I bought a Yamaha keyboard, which I still use, but I battered the hell out of it for my performances, I'll be honest with you. And I bought up a lot of stuff like hardware drum machines, sequencing machines that would record stuff so it could play back onto my machine, rack mounts, this, that, the other thing. Spending money like you wouldn't believe. It was a really, really crazy time in the mid to late 80s. You salivated over keyboards and you talked to the store owners and they'd say, I don't want to keep this keyboard in that long because by the time I have it for a couple of weeks, it's out of date. And they need to sell it really low. I was never on the receiving end of that. I always seemed to buy high and sell low. Didn't make a lot of sense. My passion was for the Hammond B3 organ. To me, that's the ultimate sound. It's an organ that's heavier than all get out. In fact, I was reading a book about Greg Allman saying he had to take his Hammond B3 to gigs before he became famous upstairs. And I'm thinking, you're taking one of those things upstairs? You're absolutely insane. Out of your mind. And these Hammonds, they had such a cool accessory. It was called a that's a rotating speaker. Really, really cool. Gives the sound and the swell of the B3. So I was getting excited, wanted to make my organ sound like the B3, but what did I have? I had a crappy Yamaha. So I was searching to try to get that sound that I love so much. That I love so much because I grew up, let's face it, in the 70s, and I wanted to get that sound that I just fell in love with, which, to tell you the truth, was 70s prog rock, like Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Brain Cell Surgery, Jethro Tull, all of that good stuff, right? And some of you guys look at me like, what the heck's he talking about? But I'm talking about, that's crappy because I got the ability to do some nice overdrive. I'm talking in your face. Yeah, Emerson, Lake and Palmer. I like it. Sue me. Okay? Because why? Because I'm a kid. My brothers are subjecting this to me, so it's in my brain. Jethro Tull's Thick as a Brick, to me, is reality. Everything else is a myth. Okay? Just because it's a great journey down, just because I was exposed to this. Okay. Well, anyways, so I'm on this journey to try to get this sound that I love so much, and it's not working. And as I go through the journey, and as I grow older, I get married, I have kids, pretty soon it's Murray, this is junk, right? And I don't think I was nagged that much. I probably came to the conclusion we didn't have a lot of space for this, so I started to sell off these items and figure that, you know what, I could do this stuff via computer and it would take up less space, and I should sort of move towards that. So I went through the Windows route, and I was buying tracks, and I was playing around with it, learning how to use it. Kind of liked it, but it wasn't really doing anything for me. Until I started playing in a band with the guitarist over here, believe it or not, shy guy, not anymore. And I bought what I would consider to be sort of the underpinnings of the type of instrumentation that I use today in live performances. And for me, as a keyboardist, it's not good enough for me to record just with a microphone. I need something more. I need something where it would have a consistent feel, the sound would be good. So I got something that's called SIAB. Okay, if you've ever heard that expression, what is it? S-I-A-B. It stands for Studio in a Box. Okay? And it's not the be-all and end-all, but it was good enough for me. They come in ranges. What is it? It's a USB device that plugs into your computer, and it just makes it easy for you to connect up music equipment, be it a bass guitar, a guitar. They have the ability for MIDI and actual sound generators in them, so you can do organ stuff and all that sort of cool stuff. What do they range from? Oh my goodness gracious. They range anywhere from, and depending on what you want to do from, well, $40. The M Audio Uno from Long and McQuaid, okay, which I love, going in there and only paying $40, like in your face, right? It's a little game I play. I used to laugh at the college profs here that were frugal, not frugal, let's be honest, cheap as all get out, okay? But after being married and having kids, and they're going through university now, those people I laughed at are my heroes. Okay? When I go into a music store and I want to look at a dual keyboard, oh, 2400, oh, see you later. Okay? I want to see if I can do something without spending a ton load of money, and I think I'm approaching that. So I needed a CAB. CABs range from anything, from that really low end. Word to the wise, M Audio is a good, I'm not plugging it, I'm not getting paid for them. M Audio is a good product because it works with Linux out of the box. I've never had trouble with M Audio products. I've had Tascams that I have to go through this long series of setups and things like that. I have looked at a lot of different things. Anyways, the type of CABs that I think are worthwhile looking at range from on eBay anywhere from $50 on up into the thousands. And the one I have, I think, is about, I don't know, 60 bucks on eBay. It works for me just fine. So anyways, okay, so I did this with the interest of recording because I like composing. I did a lot of fun stuff when I was in university. And I wanted to look to live performances as well. So one of the first things that came with that CAB was Windows software with Cubase. Cubase is pretty standard recording software. It was pretty cool, learned how to use it. It was kind of nice because I could switch to different instruments and whatnot. But that didn't provide a sound module. I bought Native Instruments Hammond B4 to get the B4 sound. And I liked it, but man, was that expensive, okay? But so what? Okay, I did a little bit of groveling and a little bit of apologizing in advance with my wife and kids and got it and had a lot of fun. Well, there was a couple of things that annoyed me. One was I had to put the CD, the installation CD back every 6 weeks or it would shut down on me, and I didn't like that. And I wanted to pursue to see if there was anything in Linux. So, I know what you're saying right now. A little less conversation, a little more action. So let's get into the technical details of how to set up a Linux system. And it's not rocket science. There's some really cool things that you can do here. The first thing to look at is something called, well, to tell you the truth, as I mentioned, you can record using the default sound technology. ALSA, it was an advanced Linux sound architecture, OSS, Pulse Audio, although I'm not in love with that, but necessary evil. What worked for me better is something called JACK. JACK's one of those recursive acronyms. JACK stands for Jack Audio Connectors, Audio Connection Kit. Its purpose does a couple of things. It says it's a low latency audio server. What does that mean? Well, latency for a performer is everything. Delay will drive you nuts. If you've ever done that, if you've ever been on a telephone with an echo, you can continue your conversation. And the ability for fast, so a low latency audio server, very, very important. Why? Well, if I want to save some money here, I'm going to use what I have. This is a 1990 keyboard, and I still use it to this day. It's like motorcycles. I thought it'd be really cheap in North America to buy up a used motorcycle, but they've all gone overseas, and the ones that you buy can be phenomenally expensive. I find this with keyboards as well, because everybody's greedy, because they have an El Crapoid grandma's keyboard, and they think they can get $300 from it or whatnot. Sometimes my quest just for a cheap keyboard really is challenging for me. So I use this, and I use this to this day, and I use it for performances. What makes it not out of date is something called MIDI. MIDI is your connection in, and it stands for Musical Instrument Digital Interface. It is a standard that was developed in 1974, and it's basically just sending information to the computer on the notes that you press. How long are you pressing? Pressing it down hard? You know, are you hitting the sustain key? And all sorts of things like that. So Jack is just this audio server that allows you to connect up to it. It has low latency, which means what? Which means that when you're playing the keys, it's transmitting that information very quickly without delay. Because I don't know if you've ever played a keyboard and there's delay on it. It's the best definition of being inebriated. You laugh, but it's true. And another thing that Jack does very, very well is patching. The ability to connect up all sorts of different devices together. And that's important as a keyboardist such as myself, because I may want to play organ, I may want to play piano, I may want to play a Prophet emulator. I want all of these options that are available and much, much more. So the starting point is Jack. It's a good point to start from because it's basically what I use, the first thing that I launch. Okay, and then have the and then create my patches or connections up to other devices. Really, it is about patching. If you go to connections here, there is connections that are coming in from my Uno MIDI device, from my keyboard, into whatever particular app that I'm interested in playing, like my Set Be Free. That's what the organ is, Set Be Free. Always the humor with programmers. I love that. Set Me Free, Set Be Free. Or to other apps as well. And to set up your patches for output as well. This is a little bit insane here, but there's a lot of apps that I'm running to be able to actually pipe it out to the output itself. Okay. So this is a ground basis. This is something for myself as a keyboardist that I would start. Now the fun begins. It's like laying down a platform, an audio platform, starting point. And then, whatever you want to do depends on what you want to do. To tell you the truth, again, this might be from the perspective of a keyboardist. I would want to play keyboards. There are two things in bands that are very, very important. One is called melody, and the other one is rhythm. Okay, I would think that those are the two cornerstones of music. And I find it funny, but it's a very true story. When I was in a university band, I had to explain to our bass guitarist, after he'd been playing with our band for about a year and a half, what the difference between melody and rhythm was. It's scary. Okay? But we had a good conversation, and we got through it. I'm going to concentrate on the melody. Melody is being able to play notes in a proper sequence, okay? That's the best way to talk about it. And without getting into tremendous physics here, but there is something called physical modeling. And it's apps that try to trick the ear into thinking that you're listening to the real thing. It's the best way I can describe it. I could get really technical and talk about sample rates and the idea of cutting a sound into small slices that are listened to over a period of time to get the exact sound signature. There are so many applications that are out there. Two come to mind just generally. Fluid Synth, or its graphical front end, which is called QSynth, it uses what are called sound fonts. Sound fonts are kind of the, how should I say, cruder form, simpler form of physical modeling, where you can get these sound fonts, which are sample music and have been massaged to get a certain sound. What sounds? Oh my goodness gracious. Piano, grand piano, organs, flutes, you name it. A lot of them are free and open source where you can get. Some of them you buy. For example, I really like the Rhodes piano, I like the Wurlitzer. I decided to buy those sound fonts and use them. Other ones I gotten via open, free ones that are open, what do you call it, open domain, public domain, that I use. But I still wasn't happy with the organ sounds. They're not bad, but I was really, really looking for an organ sound. For a while, I stumbled upon a better physical modeling application called Bristol Organ. That's done by a person by the name of Nick Copeland. And what was really cool with him is it was an open source project. I liked what he did. I said, hey, this is really cool, but you know what? This kind of sucks. You should make changes to this, this, and this. And he listened. And that's something about Linux that I really like, that you can actually talk with the developer, that you can make suggestions, and if they think, hey, you know what, this is a good idea, chances are they make them, or they file them away. I really, really like that. The problem, sorry Nick, the problem with Bristol Organ is there's so many different knobs and devices to use. I would feel like Igor or Frankenstein, you know, Phantom of the Opera, fiddling around with the knobs while trying to perform. I wanted something simple. And I wanted something that would be supported in jack audio. And about 6 months ago, I found it. The Set B3, I love. I love it because it's not, you don't have to learn rocket science. It's simple. It works on jack audio. I love it. Okay, so there's that. Switching gears here. When recording or practicing for live performances, rhythm. Rhythm, a very, very important thing. Rhythm is an extremely important thing. I've been in the band 10 years, and after you've been playing with the drummer for 10 years, you do become brothers, you or sisters or relatives or whatever. You're so tight. You're so tight, you can afford to get loose because you have freedom. You anticipate what that drummer is going to do. Why? Because you practice, practice, practice. And if the drummer's not there, you could record the drummer. You could pipe out microphones. You can record the drums, which is a pain in the butt, by the way, and try to get the sound okay. You can go some other routes. Another route is drum machines. And one that's in Linux that's very useful is Hydrogen. It's very, very simple to use. I can bring it up here. Just give me a sec. It's easy. It's truly the easiest thing you've ever done on the planet. Automatically, you can set it to work with jack audio, and you can start to make your own patterns. Click again to remove a particular pattern, change the tempo, and start playing. Simple stuff. You can create patterns and place them together to generate songs. No, I didn't do this. You get the idea. Okay. And that's probably what you were listening to when I was going to start the song. Another thing that you can do, Jack is pretty slick. There's a plugin for Jack called with Firefox called Pulse Audio Jack. And what it means is you can record in stuff from YouTube, from websites, and record it onto the system. And you're going to worry that that may violate copyright issues, and it is a talking point. But now with legislation and the idea of fair use, and the idea as long as you're not benefiting from it, it may be an interesting legal way for practicing and actually picking up. So stay tuned for a moment, because I'm going to talk about this. Another thing is obviously the recording software. And there are lots of ones that are out there. Reaper comes to mind, and that's a very, very popular one. A lot of people like that in Windows. It was open source, now it's more proprietary. There is a repo version for Linux, but you're running it on Wine. I kind of wanted to stay away from that. So the two that come to mind, and again, remember this is my journey, is Audacity. This has won numerous multimedia awards for open source software. A lot of these things were created as projects that students did or collaborations with students and professors and have gone on to become very, very popular. I like it for its simplicity. It's not rocket science. It's also multi-platform. So, you know, you could run it in Mac, you could run it in Windows, you could run it in Linux. And to tell you the truth, 9 chances out of 10, I still use this. Because it's just so darn simple. When I had a little radio station, an internet radio station for the college, and I had to do commercials, I come up with literally plugged into the computer, not using Jack, recording in our secretaries. One was by the name of Diane Capel, and the other one Rose Saliba. They don't work for CS anymore, but I could do some really cool things, and I could do copy and paste and fades and stuff like that. So here's a little taste.
My boyfriend's not a doctor or a lawyer. He's a code monkey.
You're listening to CS Radio at Seneca College, Toronto, Canada.
I've done other ones, but the lawyers tell me I can't. Really, really interesting stuff. If you want to go more the Pro Tools route, a Pro Tools alternative, then you're probably looking at Ardour. You're going to say, what's the difference between both of them? A lot of them support a lot of the same things. I guess if you had to do a hands-down comparison in a general way, ARTA goes more towards industry-specific standardization. Things like SMPTE, where you integrate keeping the rhythm for video and things like that. Okay, best way I can describe it. But to tell you the truth, a little bit more of a learning curve on it, but it does allow you a lot of access to plugins and to hear these effects immediately without in Audacity, creating the recording in the particular thing and then running an effect later on. Now, this is where it starts to get a little bit interesting. Remember I was talking about drumming? And drum machines for me are, it's okay, it sounds kind of cheesy, okay? I always wish, is there a way in which you could actually get better drumming patterns that were meant to be from a drummer, a real drummer, and you can incorporate it in and massage it in. And again, these are one of these things that I probably found out probably within the past year or so. And what is it? Well, in something like Audacity, you can, because you're using jack audio, to set up as what you're recording, you can set pulse audio jack sync to record anything that's coming in from the web browser, right? That's YouTube, what have you. Okay, now we're talking about being aware of copyright issues and things like that. And what struck me very interesting was that there was a website that was karaoke. And karaoke, you know, this was pretty cool. It's a karaoke database where you can spend money, but they give you a sample. And I gotta remember to turn on the volume here, so I don't want to blast your ears. How many people remember this? I know we're all. Well, you can isolate the tracks. Kind of cool. You want just drums and bass. Record it, you know, do your, you know, slippery sides here, but record it into Audacity. Audacity is very good with copy and pasting. Okay? Brings up a whole bunch of issues for use. You know, how should we deal with this one now? Okay, but a lot of interesting things. And this is a journey. This is a journey of discovery, right? Things that have taken me a long time to kind of figure out on my own. Okay. Okay. I know, great song. Maxine, like, okay. Anyways, there is such variety. There is such variety that, to tell you the truth, it's overwhelming. It is way overwhelming. And I think this is what turns off a lot of people in Linux. So the idea is to try to make things simpler and put out the word, because I wish I had a nickel for every time someone said Linux sucked for music recording. And I believe it's just truly misunderstanding and possibly a failure to get the word out there that you can do some things to make life a lot simpler. So in my journey being a college professor and teaching Bash shell scripting and using a little app like Zenity, I can simplify the process that when I want to start up a band session, that I just select what particular apps that I want to use, and you have the shell script do everything, because the beautiful part about this is you can run commands with options and all sorts of things that you want to do. And I won't waste your time here. If you're interested, email me, and I'll send you the stuff I have. I've even posted the stuff up on the blogs and stuff like that to share. So this idea of Beatles and come together, that's one element of it. Another one is getting the word out there. So, you know, being exposed to John Selmes, if you ever know John Selmes, he would say to me over the 14 years that I've been here, document, document, document. And I finally got this, and so if you go to my webpage, and all you have to type in Google is Murray space Saul. Okay, other than a real weird 70s shock jock radio personality who died earlier this year. Other than that, I'll come up to the very top of it, go to Ubuntu Linux Help, and everything's there that I have done and I've documented. Okay, just as a matter of interest. Another thing is learning to collaborate online. So there's some people here that are down in something called the sandbox, and I'll talk about that in a second. And we want to demonstrate how we can collaborate together. So they're hooked up, and we should be able to play together. And jam. You can jam, I gotta get the chair. You can jam anywhere on the internet. And how does this work? Jammer is just an app, and it's based on Ninjam, which is a project that really stopped further development in 2005. And I've used it for a long time, but we can actually jam with the people that are here. And you're saying, yeah, but wait a minute here. So you're hearing the bass guitar? See, I'm not playing the bass guitar. That's you. It's down the sandbox. You say, yeah, but what about latency? Well, there are apps that are out there you can play real time. The farther you get across, like greater than city limits, then you start to feel drunk when you're playing because of the latency. This jammer or Ninjam is in something called fake time. And sometimes it's hard to get your head around that. We're not playing live. We're playing in segments. It's kind of like row, row, row your boat. The people doing the next round, That's what's happening here. We do all sorts of cool things. After we finish this particular recording session, an email will be sent to us with the recording. You can, he's good, isn't he? I gotta play with this. I am playing. And there's supposed to be a synthesizer person. So I've been setting up these things for friends to jam. Life is beautiful. Life is absolutely freaking beautiful. Life is good. Everybody on the face of the planet is going to get together. We're going to jam. We're going to have a good time. We're going to solve everything. Life is beautiful. Sorry, my friends, it doesn't work that way. You can have the best technology that's out there. You can set up something that's so easy. I have a friend who's a lawyer. He's out in Vancouver. He said, I don't like Apple products. Apparently he's a lawyer. He sued Apple. He knew he was going to lose, but he wanted to be enough of a pain in the you know what to put them into litigation, and it gave him satisfaction. I told him about Linux, and I said I could customize the system for you, send it out west, and then we can jam together. And I said, in fact, I could have a nice little docking station down below, and you can start it. How many buttons do you want? I want 2 buttons. What? I want 2 buttons. What buttons? Start the recording, stop the computer. Did what he said. Rest is history. But it's not always that easy. Because being in a band, you know, the hardest thing about being in a band is starting the band. Getting people at a particular point in time with the commitment and the passion to do something. So how do we deal with this? One attempt is the sandbox. There are handouts for the sandbox that are here. They're downstairs where the library is, just a little bit further. I'm almost done. Okay, they're there. You can go in and check it out. What's the purpose? The purpose here is to get people to connect together, to do things together, to maybe document together. I think it's a great idea. Is it going to be a solution? Time will only tell. Okay? But the people that are down there are actually in the sandbox, and they're waiting for you guys if you have a little bit of spare time. They'll be open for the remainder of this duration. Better end soon, right? Great Chicago tune. Funny they had 4 movements for it. Okay, anyways. So I'm in a band. I'm having a great time. I have set up a system the way that I want under Linux, and I'm as happy as I'll get it. Don't care what people say. And I talked about a journey. And we played Cameron House. It was a dream of mine. Been there, done. And I had to take a look to see what was happening. Mom, piano lessons, university band, quest for Hammond B3 sound. Get a job playing in bands, Unique leads to teaching, curiosity experiment. Full-time hire at Sheridan College, yay, 1999, cutbacks, get let go, boo. Was in the School of Business, ended up here, exposing me, I had a Unix background, but this exposed me more to teaching Linux, to use the tools. So looking back, being let go at Sheridan was the best thing that ever happened. Meeting John Salmes, big kid. Didn't come today because he knew I was going to talk about it. We're going to miss that guy. That guy was retiring pretty soon. Okay? And he's the guy that came up with the idea of best practices that's led to this whole FSOSS thing. That tells me volunteer, document, collaborate, share, happy camper. Goes deeper than that. When I did my journey, I looked back and I said, oh, thanks, Mom. Mom is a little bit more important because there are some connections. I don't know if you ever saw a program called Connections with James Burke back in the late 70s where they talk about technology and they talk about weird things and they all culminate into a certain thing. That's what's happened in my life. Why? My mom had the vision to introduce the arts to me. My mom was open-minded, and her favorite Beatles tune was Strawberry Fields, pretty freaking cool, and thought Jim Morrison of the Doors was ahead of his time. And loved Pink Floyd, us and them, are you kidding me? That's pretty cool for someone born in 1927. She was talking to me, whenever she probably didn't think I was listening, I was listening. And she was talking about Glenn Gould before he died, thought computers and music were great, and he was met with such resistance. Oh, you shouldn't think that way. When I was in university and I was in political science, I was in economics actually, but I was taking a poli-sci course. And John Meisel, the head of CRTC, left the position to return back to Queens as a professor. Did a little talk, and I didn't want to go. My mom said, yeah, let's go, let's listen. And I guess my idea was I'm going to see what my prof looks like. And he was talking about, in 1984, 1985, the importance of the internet. It didn't sink into me. My mom was excited. She saw the possibilities that concur in the internet. Think about that for a second. This is someone who never, ever touched a computer in their life. Okay? And yet saw the potential for this. My mom was a big believer in the public good, and things scared her. Things scared her like pay TV, and versus antenna, like OTA. Although there wasn't any OTA back then, it was analog OTA. Okay, and certain issues like this. To wrap things up, and I do want to tie this into Dave Humphrey's lecture earlier today. If my mom was alive today and sitting here, she would be so proud, and she would be so happy that there is a great group of individuals here doing best practices, working for the public good, being able to collaborate and do very exciting things. And I guess to be that leverage that will move the world. Thank you for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure. Before I answer your questions, I do have to kind of clear up a bad thing here. Some people say that when I fall asleep when I play. Okay? And I don't know about that. I guess you're going to have to kind of think about that. Okay. So any questions? Probably don't have a lot of time, but I'd be happy to answer or try to attempt to answer. Yes?
As you said, recording acoustic drums is always going to be pain.
Oh, yeah.
What has been your experience about recreating that acoustic drum sound on Linux?
Let other people do it. Be around with people that really know their stuff. I'm a keyboardist, I'm not a guitarist, I'm not a drummer. Again, hook up with someone who really knows their stuff. I know someone who, I think I've got a lot of people who look down because, hey, you're not in the industry, this and that and the other thing, but like, I mean, he was setting up stuff for Will Kaufman and stuff like that. And sometimes when you keep your mouth quiet and your ears wide open and you listen to people and you think that they're really, really boring and they get really, really nerdy because they're talking about stuff, especially in terms of physics, they probably know what they're talking about, right?
Yeah.
So I guess the idea is let someone know what else. Hey, feel free. Otherwise, I'm going to play again. You don't hear it. Yes.
That software that you showed us, that was the sort of pseudo real-time collaborative jam session sort
Yes.
of a thing.
Yes.
So does that sort of work like it had what looked like kind of a metronome at the bottom?
There is, and I
bars?
just turned it off because it was annoying me.
Oh, so it has like a tick track?
Yep, yep.
Okay,
And
so you
it's
just play it
basically-
for the 4 bars or whatever, and then it sends it over?
You
Is
could,
that
if
it?
you're really good, you can even set the beats per minute, and then you can coordinate with the drum machine and actually have it, and I've done that. Again, I get really excited because I think naturally people just think, hey, this is really cool, let's do this, it'll be great, we'll have 100,000 people jamming together and stuff. I find it's like herding cats. On the other hand, I've seen some really cool things when there's public farms, they're called, or you have to understand there's a whole range of this stuff that's out there. NanJam, there's the Jammer, things like that. That online you can find places where people coordinate, and then you'll be jamming with someone, and then you'll just text them and say, where are you from? And they'll say, France. It just blows my mind because you play in fake time. It doesn't matter where you are on the face of the planet. My daughter was a teenager, and they're the best critics of anything dad ever does, right? And she was with her friends, and I set it up, and I said, why don't you play with this? And my daughter has a very, very beautiful voice, and she was doing an inspired jazz thing, and I was upstairs trying to get asleep. And apparently she typed in, oh, sorry, maybe I should quit, and they were going, no, keep going. And she did till 4 o'clock in the morning until I finally told them, shut up. It's the best way to deal with it. Obviously, in a short period of time, I can't deliver a lot of stuff in a lot of detail. It's like saying, describe the universe, give 2 examples. But I do encourage you to pick up these sheets that are here on the sandbox and just note the name, Murray Saul. And, I'm approachable. And
When are we going to get all the professors together to have a jam session?
I don't know, it's going to have to happen soon because we're just a little too uptight. Just kidding. Gotta let her hair down. So to speak.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Yes, in the back.
Do you have any suggestions for good resources to get CAD tutorials and tips? Because what I found is I found like a lot of great, scattered articles here or there. There's a lot of research you have to do. There is a website, Leaker Music Production, that was just launched in August. That's really
Yeah.
helpful, but I haven't found too many others.
Send me an email. I'm interested. It's a collecting. It's a hunter and gatherer. There are a lot. They are out there. I don't know if there is one site though that does it all. I'll be honest with you. I think it's that old-fashioned curiosity and just absorb. Yes.
How do you feel about the variety of digital instruments in Linux?
The what?
VSTs, VSTs.
Oh, VSTs are awesome. VST stands for, if I'm not mistaken, Virtual Studio Technology. They're great. And maybe I'm butchering this, but they're small, quick, load-up programs like organ, like drums, whatever, that when you're in a recording environment, you can click a button, they come up really quick, and you can patch them and use them. VSTs have been a bone in contention in Linux. The setup has been very brutal, but and there have always seems to be 2 schools of VSTs. One's just for Linux, and one's for Windows. And I'm happy to announce that I know that it's been solved to a great degree. There's an app called VST-host. It's bundled in with a bunch of utilities that you can install on your system. I know that it's in Ubuntu 14.04 I've used it, I've done it. And I've run my old Needed Instruments V4 Hammond emulator
can run
in
Windows,
Windows, in Linux.
Wow.
If you take a look at my blogs, I just keep on saying Ubuntu Studio is just getting better and better and better.
It's really good.
I'm full of optimism now.
Do you use any Linux track audio mastering software?
I'm more of a performer. I'll be honest, I've sort of gotten out of the composing area. I don't know if it's being busy as a dad or, I'm spending more time on the band as opposed. Mastering, do you mean for generating, what in particular? What?
You lay down several different tracks. You're
Yes.
trying to get
Yes.
everything you send through
Yes.
that,
Yes.
and then you have to master and level them to get them to come up through.
Yeah, there's normalization. I haven't done it to a great degree. Again, I know some friends that are very good. One is Les Segel, and I didn't realize he recorded an album back in 1972. I said, wow, that's cool. He goes, yeah, it was on a 45. And I kind of praised him, and the next day I went to my mailbox, and there's a 45, because they have a box of about 50. Sometimes, I guess, if I want the job done right, I'm going to go via someone who really knows their stuff. Now, that might say, Murray, you're shooting yourself in the foot. I would disagree wholeheartedly, because for rough concepts, the rough stuff that you can simply merge down on your own, homemade, to an MP3, to an OGG file, whatever you want, to send out to your other bandmates or collaborate with your other bandmates is a good thing. I failed to mention that in Audacity, the way that you could collaborate is Dropbox, sharing the files. Ardour has something really, really cool. It's called SEX, Session Exchange, and it has the ability when you do your tracks to take snapshots, so you're not downloading everything, you're just downloading what you did from the previous snapshot and share automatically, and it syncs up with someone else's system. A lot of cool things. Like I say, there's a lot that's out there. Maybe when I retire, I'll take a course. I already bought an Idiot's Guide to Home Recording, so I'm sort of going through this out of sequence.
Yeah, the only reason why I asked that is because currently right now I'm using Cubase 7
Yes.
in Windows.
Yes.
And I have the full version so I can master my tracks.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. You'd be blown away with what's available in Ardour and with Audacity. And I have to say, try it out, give it a go. I agree with you wholeheartedly. It's hard to go to one-stop shop area. With Sandbox, we're trying eventually to try to build up a database. So who knows? Okay. Well, listen, it's been an absolute pleasure. Okay. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Okay, well, I'd just like to thank Murray on behalf of everybody here at FSOSS for a great presentation. I know it touches my heartstrings when we get to mix tech and art together, so thank you very much, Murray.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Now, who helps me to take this apart? It's always the glamour, the artist. The advertisements for the lovely software don't show the miles and miles of cable. Yeah.
Gonna hire a roadie.
Yeah. I'm not that good yet.